G'day folks, welcome to Dirtfood. This is our vegetable garden diary, and as such there is a lot I could talk about today. It's I guess we've only got a couple of weeks left of spring, and the last time that I posted anything was, I think, pretty much at the beginning of spring. You've got to understand that the act of filmmaking and documenting is totally at odds with the act of actually doing. And it's been a very busy time. As you know, we've been, getting the garden back up from a fairly neglected state. So we've had a lot of work to do, and we've put a lot of time in, and it's been so much fun. We've had a great time, and we're starting to kind of feel like we're on top of the garden and it's not on top of us. A long way to go, of course, and it's a continuum, so always a moment in time, but it's been fantastic, and we've done a lot, and there's a lot that I want to kind of show you and talk about in due course. But today specifically I wanted to talk about seeds, and what we do in terms of making seed blocks to raise the seeds in. Now, a few years ago we built a hothouse, so we had a location to put the seeds. And one of the questions that I had was, well, why don't you just plant all the seeds direct in the garden? Like, it seems like a whole heap of hassle to kind of raise the seeds separately and then another step to plant them out. Why don't you just plant them out in the garden? Now that works for some things. Some of the bigger seeds, corn and beans come to mind, broad beans, which is behind me here. And you saw me plant those direct, I think, in an earlier episode. So some of the bigger seeds can work like that. It comes down to a few things, and I think we'll probably talk more about this at another time, but in short, if I can do that. The part of the problem is timing. So tomatoes are a great example where you want to get them started as soon as the weather kind of starts to get warm enough at the end of winter. You want to get those seedlings started so that they start growing. If you planted them out in the garden, after all the risk of frosts have passed, for us here anyway, which is sometime around early November, they just don't have enough time to grow and produce before summer's gone. So if you want to maximize the seasons, we need to get them started a bit earlier. So it makes sense then to plant the seeds in a separate seed raising system. We can start them in a hothouse so that they are kept warm. They grow up once they're to a decent size and that risk of frost or the bad conditions has passed out in the garden. Then we can plant them out, and then they continue. So timing is one thing. Often too, there might be competition for space in your beds. So the crops that are growing in there at the moment maybe aren't finished, and so you can't plant the seeds out there because the other ones aren't finished, and you need to kind of keep a succession happening. Also too, seeds generally take a lot more nurturing than what's out in the garden, so they might need watering every day or twice a day sometimes. Not a lot of water, just a little bit of water. So you have it makes sense then to keep all your seeds in the one place so that you can stand there in the one location and do all your kind of watering, rather than walking around the garden and watering this little bit here and then that little bit over there. So there's a whole bunch of reasons anyway. And there's different ways you can then raise the seeds. You can buy seedlings, of course, that have already grown up from the nurseries. The nurseries are full of them. One of the big things about planting from seed too is you get the choice, you get the selection. So you choose the strongest ones to plant out in the garden. When you're buying from a nursery, you might pick the tallest ones or the ones that kind of look the strongest, but you don't get to see the whole range of what's grown up. And it's just, I think it's better if you're growing them in your environment. You get to see the ones that have done well in your environment, and you choose those. So anyhow, we have tried all sorts of different things over the years, and what works really well for us is we make soil blocks. So we plant the seeds in these soil blocks of a special kind of mixture. And then when the seedlings are big enough and the conditions are right outside, we don't have to disturb the roots. We can just take that block that they've grown in and plant them straight out. So much less root disturbance. I'm terrible dealing. I hate dealing with the seedlings, and the roots are all exposed, and I hate that. Wendy's she's great at it, but I'm not so good. This is perfect, and it's easy. It's foolproof, almost, and as a fool, great for me. It's a pretty good system. Anyway, whether it's a good system or not is what we do, and I thought it might be interesting to show you. Let's have a look.
5 litres, what's equivalent to, once it's expanded, 5 litres of the core. 5 litres of seed compost. And 3 litres of propagating sand, like a river sand. Not a bit coarser than a fine, not a builder's sand. Oh, and about a tablespoon of osmocote. You want it just to seep out a bit. There's plenty of liquid in there. You want it a bit like wet cement. Could almost be slightly wet. It'll be good. It'll be okay. Blockage.
Well, folks, thanks. That's another episode done. So anyhow, that's what we do with our seed blocks. How we get most of our seeds started here. Sometimes we plant them in smaller pots. Some of the bigger seeds, pumpkins, zucchini, and whatnot. Those seeds are so big that when they kind of smash open, they destroy those seed blocks. For most of the seeds, though, those soil blocks are good. Not a big investment at all for the blocker itself. Anyhow, thought that might be interesting, but here I stand in amongst all those tomatoes that you actually saw us plant before. So there you go, that's how the cycle of these things goes, and I'll catch you next time. See ya.